Hi, I'm Jess with Canine Perspective, and today we're going to talk about claiming space, specifically claiming space at the door. Many dog owners struggle with their dogs running out the front door or barking, getting overexcited, or just running straight for the door when somebody knocks and they have guests come over. And this little exercise will help to stop bolting out the door and also creating a calmer behavior when you have guests come over. This is a very simple thing. This doesn't involve any kind of training, no sits, no downs, no stays, no food. I use leashes when I'm teaching clients just as precaution in case the dog does happen to slip around us. You have something to step on to catch them. But other than that, all you need is yourself and of course your dog. So essentially when I see people try to do this, this is kind of, this is a la Cesar Millan method. That I see them go at their dog, and the dog's running around, and then the dog stops, and they think they've got the dog, and then they open the door, and of course the dog goes right back to what they were. It's actually like a sequence of events. What people don't see when Cesar does this is that he does sound, but he also does touch. And then he follows in with confrontational pressure. So a lot of people don't see the confrontation, they only see the sound, or they only hear the sound and the touch. And even then they don't see the intensity of the touch. A lot of times when I see people touch, it's just real light, a little tap as they at the dog. And of course the dog's not going to take that serious. It does take some time. So it's a varying degree of things, right? So today, I have here with me 8 dogs, so we're going to see how even with 8 dogs we don't need to use any words, but I'm able to keep them at bay just using body language and some simple things. We're going to play it out, see how it goes. These guys are a little bit familiar with it, so we may not see them try to play me, which would be great because then you'll see how I'll handle it, in which case, which is most likely, which you as a dog owner are going to see with your very own dog. Okay, so I'm gonna go and knock and see if that'll attract them. If it doesn't, I'm gonna try a different thing. We'll see what happens. So, of course, knock drew the energy, they all came, and notice they all stopped about right here. Typically what I see is the dogs come straight here. The reason for that is they know this exercise already. So if I were to open the door, if you can see, my pit bull Lexi is making a couple of steps, right? So I pushed her back, but she is still moving forward. This is telling me her brain is still active. If I open door now and there was to be a guest here, she for sure would break. So what I'm going to do is I have to completely shut down her brain. Okay? So she's right there. She's completely turned away. Let's see what happens now. Now I don't care when I flush a dog back if they sit or if they lay down. So now she's back again, so I had to address that. So she placed herself in the sit. Now typically, if the dogs come and from here they stop and flush away, I don't continue to put pressure. I'm only continuing to put pressure because Lexi keeps coming back. But now she's completely sat down, you probably can't see her. But it took me 2 times, which is okay. It's been a while since we've done this because I don't have a lot of guests come over. But then when I go to open the door, if I had a guest, they would stay back, right? Now, these guys have already done this exercise a few times, so they know to stay back. You as a dog owner are very most likely going to see that when someone knocks your dog is going to be right here, right? So there's a couple ways of going about this. You can either use hand touch or the side of your leg. I like to use the side of my leg. If the dogs come to here, I bump them, but it has to be with meaning. It has to mean something to them. If you just do a little tap like that, it's not going to get you anywhere, right? And this does depend on your dog. If your dog's a softer dog, they may respond to that. But if you do this and they're just still there staring at the door, then for sure they're going to jump on your guest and they're going to run out, right? So then I up the intensity, and you'll see a jump back. Once I get that, you have to confront and then push back using your presence, right? The first time you do this, you'll most likely see your dog try to play you and come around, you go back to the door. If this happens, you touch again, and I might even up the intensity, confront him again, and push him back this way, right? And I like to use visuals here. I like to push them behind the counter. Usually when I go to my clients' homes, I look for little things like, if there's a carpet or if there's a threshold, I like to push them up to that point every single time, right? So then, the knock is the first trigger. You get them to calm down, you flush them back. Now reaching for the handle is going to be another trigger, right? So I'm keeping my eye on the dog, but I'm turned this way. I don't want to keep pressure on them, because then when I open the door, I have to keep doing this, right? So I take the pressure off, and if I see even 1 foot move, if they don't sit or if they don't lay down, they're just standing there, even if they do 1 foot, you have to address it again. Because that's telling you the brain's already in motion, and as soon as they open that door, they're going to come back again, right? So if they take 1 step, flush them back, go to the door, opening door is another trigger, flush them back if they break. Guests coming in, for sure, is going to be another trigger, right? So here's a little bit tricky. So the guest has to come in. What I normally try to do is the guest comes, and if the dog breaks, I create like a boundary between me and the guest, and when the dog comes, I physically check them and flush them back until they go again to wherever spot they were at, and they calm down. Now, if your guest comes in and is like, hey, so-and-so, how you doing? I missed you. And they're coming in with that energy, you can get it done, but of course your guest has to come in and follow the rules of no touch, no talk, no eye contact, right? So this way there's no energy for the dog to feed off of. If they come in all excited and they're just like this, like coaxing your dog, of course your dog's gonna break and all that stuff. So it's really a two-part thing here. You have to tell your guest, please ignore my dog, and I'm trying to train them, and then of course you're doing this exercise yourself, but everything is on you, the owner, okay? So sometimes people will have their guests come in, and then if the dogs jump on them, they'll tell the guests to just push the dog off or knee them, which I'm not so opposed to. I mean, it's fine, but it's really your responsibility as an owner to take care of your own dog, right? So it's like if you have a kid, a little toddler, that's when you have a guest pestering your guest, are you going to tell your guest to discipline your child? No, most likely not, unless it's like a family member. That's your responsibility as a parent. So I look at owning dogs kind of the same way. You are a parent to your dog, and they need rules and discipline. And then I use the way that another dog will discipline a dog, right? So if 2 dogs are playing, one gets fed up and is tired and moves off, but then this dog is pursuing, this dog that's tired will check that dog. It may growl or it may physically go to nip and tell the dog, look, I've had enough. So this is that same concept, the touch concept. So if there's no touch, when you're doing this here, your dog's never going to take you seriously. There always has to be at least some kind of touch. Now it's not going to be always, right? Because once you do this exercise over and over again, the dog will just learn, don't even bother running to the door, they got it. And it's a natural thing. When someone's knocking on your door, by barking and charging it, your dog's just saying, someone's here, there's someone on our property, right? So it's that territorial thing. When you come here and you do this exercise, what you're telling the dog is, thank you for letting me know, I got it from now on, this is my door, and whoever comes through it is my guest. And they're okay with me. And if they're okay with me, then your dogs will be okay with them. right? So this is people just see the outside. Oh, he's just at his dog, and then the dog stops like it's magic. But it's a sociological thing. Like there's meaning, there's a conversation going on, right? So you have to see these things. And as you can see here, when the dogs came, my presence kept them at bay. If someone would have knocked here and I wasn't standing here, they would have came all the way to the door. But since they saw me here, they go, oh, he's got this, right? So then it was just a couple of things to get him to flush back for Lexi. And then, of course, no one came and charged the door again. So, right, so my dog stopped right there. So if I come here and they move off right there, that's fine by me. So Lexi's coming back, but she's holding. She's just curious, right? So that's fine. It's perfect. Very simple experiment to do. Not experiment, very exercise. It can save your dog's life. How? If you live on a busy street and you're one of those owners that has to hold their dog like this and go, no, stop, stay, and squeeze out your door, this will save your dog's life, right? Because then when I come to the door, the dog's going to follow me because it's natural instinct, but they're going to say, oh, he's going to the door, that's none of my business. I don't go outside the door unless they say okay, right? So there's a release command to this. So then they stay at bay, and I can just walk out, and I don't have to worry about trying to catch my dog and not letting them run out because they might get hit by a car. Okay. And of course, if you have issues with your dog's barking excessively at the door, this will calm them down and the barking will stop. Right? Now, if you don't get the results that like you saw here, it's okay. It's going to take time. It's repetition. A lot of people go, oh, Cesar Millan's methods don't work. It's not that they don't work, it's just that they're not doing them correctly. I didn't learn this overnight. You know, I'm self-taught, and it was a lot of me, a slip leash, and a dog, and countless of volunteer hours at the Humane Society that I learned how to interact with dogs just using body language and pressure, right? And of course, watching Cesar Millan, I rewatched his first 5 seasons like 3 times, and when I saw something that I thought was really cool, I would rewind it and watch it over and over and over again, and I was like, oh, that's what he did. And of course, I replicated it until I got it down pat. So now I can go into anybody's home, and within a few minutes, I could have a crazy barking dog calm, laying down in the corner, without any kind of formal training. It's not necessary. You don't need treats. You don't need to say anything, right? It's just body language and insight on dog psychology. Now, here's a little FYI. This will work on a majority of dogs. Your standard house dog, fine, right? However, let's say your dog happens to be a bully in the home with the family, or is having their behavior at the door is maybe a little bit more intense. You have to be very, very careful. If you're going to try this, I'd probably do a muzzle on that dog, and I'd highly recommend you get a professional to help you. A professional that understands dog psychology. Just because they're a trainer doesn't mean they know dog psychology. So the reason why I say this is I've had a couple of dogs that they're up there in the rank and they feel that they're entitled to things, and if they feel that this is their home, you have to understand how, you know, dogs are animals. They think like animals. So if I have a much more confident dog come here, when you do the touch, you're initiating a challenge. And you're telling that dog, look, this is my door. I'm gonna back you off right now, right? Plus the state of mind the dog's in. If the dog's very territorial, it happens to be show signs of aggression. When they're in that elevated state, when you initiate the touch, they may come after you. Now, there's a couple of reasons why. One of them may be just because their mental level, their mentality is kind of unstable. They're in a very intense territorial mode. So that touch just unleashes all that pent up that mental state, like it just unlocks it and just makes it snap. The other thing is, they're going, what? Who are you to challenge me in my house, at my door, and they go to check you? Because that's what you're doing. You're doing the touch to check them and tell them to quit your shit. Excuse me. You're doing the touch to tell them to stop. And they're doing the exact same thing, except you're dealing with a much more confident dog, right? So I've had a couple of dogs that I've done this exercise with, and I was prepared because I knew they were that type, so I had them set with a leash, a prong collar, and a leash, which I normally don't do, but these are different cases. And right when I went to do touch, the dog came to check me. Now, I'm a professional, and it's my job to teach people how to address these things, so I have to see it through all the way. Anytime you do this, you have to see it through all the way. But just be aware that if you're dealing with a dog, or you know you have a dog that tests you, or has a little bit of aggression towards people coming into the home, call a professional. Don't do this by yourself. Call a professional, get a muzzle, make sure if you're doing these things, you should see really good results essentially pretty quickly. There are some cases that are difficult, but even in those difficult cases, you're going to see a big jump in progress that first session, right? So same thing here. If you call a trainer over and all of a sudden they pull out the treat bag, they get the leashes out, or the whatever, the harnesses, the no pull stuff, it's a load of crap. You don't need that, unless of course you're dealing with a more bully type dog. But even then, I don't use food. No, I don't use food. It's not necessarily. It's not going to address the dog at a core, right? So just be aware of that. That's FYI for those of you that may want to try this. And